Hey everyone, we are live again. You can see my hand, everything is fine, so that is good. We're back in business. So that was one way. See, when you're doing live streams, it's not for the weak at heart. You have to kind of think on the fly. And for me, I knew I was going to lose yous, but I figure if I just create a new live stream, you guys will just come on over, and that was great. Yes, back in business, Mr. Steve. So that's the show must go on and all that good stuff, right, sir? So we're working on her, and what we can do is I am going to come in with the black. Now that's not really black in her hair there, and we're going to figure out the color. And so right here, it's more of a magenta. So it actually has magenta in it. So let's go ahead and see if we can find some magenta. I'm actually going to be using some of the Wicked paints as well. So JC, am I frozen again? Oh no, there I am, sir. I'm good. So thank goodness. So that's good. Thank God we're not frozen. But if it does get frozen, let me know, guys. That would be great. Great to see you, Mr. Brad. I'm so glad you're back. And now we're going to get the black. Wicked black, 3-to-1. Going to make this happen, guys. God's help, of course. I can't do it alone. Okay, so I have some new brushes. Cheapo brushes right over here. And since we're working with Wicked brushes, we got to make sure that we have some water, because without water, it's really going to be horrible on them. So I have some water right here. Actually, it's pretty nasty. Let me go clean it. Okay, so I am back. And we have our water, and this way we can rinse out our brushes. But I want to kind of work on the dark of her hair here. And we're going to get our piece of paper where we could go ahead and do some dry brushing techniques. And just move everything out of the way. Yes, definitely. So we are not frozen, thank God, which is great. So yes, reboot. That's exactly. When all in doubt, restart, right? Gonna make sure I don't have too much moisture. Those who study with me know my feelings on, the dry brush. Make sure there's not too much moisture in that brush. Right, guys? And we just got to make sure we keep her beautiful profile. Otherwise, I'd be in big trouble. There we go. So we're working on refinement. Hey, Mr. Dave, how's it going, my friend? Great to see you. So you missed it. I froze up, and that was kind of a bummer. But we decided to do a new, because the thing is, it would have stayed frozen, and all I could do was talk, and who wants to hear me just talk, right, sir? And oh, yeah, Steve Leahy breaks his brushes. That's definitely it. I also like to sometimes break them, and this way have a really sharp point, especially those really long ones. Like these brushes really are horrible. Why do you need all that room? Painting around the corner or something, right? So yes, shorter brushes really do help. That's for sure. So Steve is right there. So Steve was in charge of the earlier feed. That's funny. And so Dave, how's everything going out there in Oklahoma? So glad you're here, sir. Always a pleasure to see you. So Steve is just outside, not too far from Lawton, right? In Oklahoma, but soon to be from Dallas, um, down by the Waco area, right? Not too far from there. Is that true, sir? If I remember correctly. And so that is Michael says, okay, I found you. Tried to get rid of me. Never, sir. That's for sure. I'm so glad you found us again. That's funny. So I made sure I had the live stream before I left, so this way, we'd all be on the same page. Oh, just spilled some ink. That's nice. Let me make sure I mop that up. When it's live, anything happens. It's anything can happen, right, Mr. Leahy? And I'm just going to come over here. So it's these contours that are really crucial. And just remember to have fun. That's the most important. And then let's continue this dark down here. Once you have the contour, just making sure you're not too wet where you start bleeding into her contour, right? That would be terrible. I love this. I love and hate the position of her face. It's a great gesture, but it also, one little mistake and it's all over. And that's so. Astral, how's your son doing out there in Japan? Great to see you, Astral, from the UK. So Astral says he just got his new Vortex and found some acrylic airbrush paints he hasn't touched since 1994. They mix well with the Vortex, but not sure if they are usable anymore. 1994? Wow. I think those paints seen their day about 10 years ago, my friend. That would be amazing. Ah, so Steve is here for all the laundry needs. So even though this may be a little boring, whatever, just know that a lot of times, your painting is going to be boring, right? It is going to be doing something that's just not quite that exciting, and that's all right because every painting has its really fun, exciting moments, and you're, flying by the seat of your pants and doing great dagger strokes and fades, and but there are also times where you're just worrying about the contour of a face and you're just blocking in large areas of hair, and they still have a price tag on it. Wow. I guarantee those paints, if they're acrylic based, I guarantee they're probably rock hard. I think with regular acrylic paints, I think the normal shelf life I've seen was maybe 10 years. That's the longest I've ever, like golden high flow acrylics, heavy body, Liquitex, Winsor & Newton acrylics. They do not have a very good shelf life. Now, Createx paints, I've seen Createx paints last 10 years, 11 years, and I'm still using them today. The illustration paints, mind you, that I know of. So that's fantastic. And so what I'm doing is not putting in anything that's not there, right? So only worry about what's there, and that's so important. JC, 1994 is when he first saw an airbrush in action, but teacher didn't let him get near the airbrush, so it was a sad day for you. Wow, what a horrible teacher, right? I mean, don't limit your kids, your students. You're there to inspire, but also to fan the flames of inspiration. And that's what the best teachers did for me. and I never forgot that. And, you know, when I'm teaching, I try to do the same thing. You know, it's not necessarily going to be the, you know, the student is going to do exactly what I want to do or want them to do. I try and meet the student where they are and try the most important thing that a student can do is to, a teacher can do is to inspire their students, you know. So Michael says between tomorrow and the whole weekend, he's going to get real familiar with the paintbrush. That is great. That's amazing. So looking forward to seeing what you do, sir. JC says, may he rest in peace. Great artist he was. That means your teacher? I'm so sorry you're lost. That's horrible. And Ryan says, I wouldn't let kids near mine either. Now that was your teacher, right? 19 first saw an airbrush, but the teacher, okay. Well, at the academy, like at National Academy School of Fine Arts, it was frowned upon. So you didn't dare bring an airbrush to the studio, right? You know, to school. That was, you might as well have brought a shotgun because it was taboo. Mr. Brad, thank you so much, my friend, for the wonderful super chat. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your friendship and all that you do. And thank you so much for being a supportive student for 4.5 years, I've worked with Mr. Brad, and it's been great, you know, I have to say. And it's good to have a good friend as well as a great student. So thank you, sir, for that. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I appreciate every one of you. You guys are all amazing. And I'm just so blessed to know yous and to be your friends and to be able to say that you are my friends, because yous are. You guys know more about me than people who see me, around. So that's cool. So know that that's important to me. And there we go. So right now I'm not going to go too much into detail. I can start coming in with this brown of her hair and also maybe hit some of the brown here. So we're working with Wicked Paint, right? So we definitely want to kind of rinse this out before it kills our paintbrushes. Yes, they're $5.99 for a set of 7 or 8, but still I want them to last for a little while. Let me get some paper towels. Michael says, Tim, it seems like your coughing's getting better. Yes, it is getting better. It's still there, but that's what happens with me. And thank you for that vote of confidence, sir. Thank you, sir. And let's see. Astral says, yeah, frowned upon. He was discouraged from using the airbrush in 1979 when Roger Dean was the influence. Roger Dean did the Asia album cover, right? If I'm not mistaken. And I did that on a jean jacket that I wore for about 15 years. That was my first painting ever. The dragon coming out of the water. That was my first ever painting, which was really cool. And so now what we're going to do is we are going to continue working on this young lady here. Let's see. Before I do, I'm going to move this aside. It's going to be a little bonus time. And I'm going to break some rules. But then again, rules are made to be broken. I airbrush approximately 6 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, unless, I'm hanging out with a friend, which I wish was more. But, so I'm going to go over how I clean an airbrush. And I'm going to do some things that is going to be a little avant-garde, but when you work every day, you tend not to care about, what people say or whatever. So the first thing I do when I get my airbrush is I take a regular pliers. Dun dun dun. Everyone's going to lose their mind. So I'm going to take the regular pliers and I'm just going to go like that. You can see there's no damage here. Maybe just a little bit scuffs here, but no big deal. Just going to put this here. I'm going to make sure I take this out. Put that there. Now, a lot of times people go like this. They say, oh my God, are you going to go ahead and take the needle out the back? Well, of course, what you do is before you take the needle out in your back, you go ahead and clean out your cup, you know, and some reducer, you spray through it, you take the cup, you go in here. Now, with badgers, they have this little ball at the end. So if anyone knows how to take the needle out this way with this needle, I'll give them $100. So you can't unless you break it. So what you have to do is you just loosen this and you take this out. Once you take this out, you just take your, put this under water. Let's pretend I'm at the sink. Psh, water's going, you know. And I'm going to go right here and I'm going to wipe this and I'm going to put it aside. Now, what I like to do on the sink that's just left in my studio, it has like one of those sprayers with the little spray. I'll take my nozzle and I'll actually go ahead and let the water go in there with high pressure, going in there, getting rid of anything that might be in there. Then I take the needle and then I just go like this and I just kind of touch the sides. And as I'm doing that, if anything's in there, it's going to come right out, right? It's just going to come right out. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to take this and I'm actually going to put it in the water again, you know, with the spray and the little stream going in there. And then once that's done, I'm just going to give it another shot if anything's in there. Now let me show you a really good trick. Now you don't need to get in there and open it up. This will be more than efficient. However, if I don't do that and I'm working with white, that's going to haunt me. That's going to hurt my airbrushing, especially when I'm working tight detail. So this is what I like to do. I take my needle, I put it through here, and then I take my nozzle and tilt it up. You don't want to tilt it down because then your nozzle's going to fall. Tilt it up, and I'm just going to push this so the nozzle is seated correctly in the front of the airbrush, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put back my head assembly very carefully. And only put plumber's tape or anything like that if you need it. I use, people use beeswax. I like using chapstick. So you just tighten it, but not to the point where you're killing it. Just tighten a little bit. Once that's done, you make sure that it's seated correctly. Make sure that your needle spring is exactly where you want it. Everything's all forward. And then you just tighten your chucking nut. And then that's it. And so, which I didn't talk about is that when you had everything apart, you just spray water through here going into the empty head assembly. And then you take a CVS brand Q-tip, come in here, and you really get rid of anything that's there. Put water through here when the head assembly is off, and then you put it back on, and that's it. I do that after every airbrushing, and that has given me the most success. Does anyone have any questions? I just wanted to share that with you guys. And like I said, I have this airbrush for like what, 6 years? So I've been using a regular wrench on that, no problem. So Michael usually wipes the needle with beeswax. That's very cool. Hey Ryan, how's it going, my friend? Great to see you, Ryan Barkley from Michigan. And JC says, Tim, cheapest way to do so. Yes, exactly. Nope. You know, I don't think that if you're digging into it, JC, I think that's one of the fallacies or one of the, things of the airbrush world. Like I said, this has been 6 years of metal. Let's go up close and see if there's anything that was really detrimental. So we'll focus here. Whoop. And let's go over here and we'll zoom in. So you see, just a little bit. But you know what? I don't care. I mean, what's really important is what's going on inside. So I don't care if I'm going to scuff up my airbrush. It's an old warhorse, so I don't really care. Now, people, it's so funny. A lot of artists will have the plastic, the plastic on the pliers, but inside their airbrush is a disaster. But look how clean it is on the inside of my airbrush, like a brand new airbrush. And that's what we should be worried about, right? We really should. Because what's inside and what's in here is really important. So that's why what's crucial for me is to get in here and get to that nozzle. And once I have that nozzle and I get that nozzle out, and really get in there and run it through water, if that nozzle is completely clean and this area right here is completely clean, unless there's a full breakdown with like the needle packing, it'll work like the first day you had it, JC? So this is definitely the most important. When you clean your airbrush, this right here needs to be the most important part of your airbrush, right? So you want to make sure that you get to that nozzle and you make sure if, like, let's say you're painting in white, even though you clean it and run it through, there's going to be white that's sitting in there. And this is really going to get it, JC, and get it, Michael, and everybody. That's really going to get in there. And then once I have that, I know that my airbrush is going to work 100%. Now, it's not a guarantee. Nozzles will act up every now and then. But as far as I'm concerned, my chances of my airbrush working really good is important. Yes, exactly. Never put the pliers on the threads, but it's always like, always be careful. Always treat your airbrush, with kindness, and it'll be kind to you, right, sir? Okay, so I'm going to take now I mixed this on January 24th. This is my orange mixture, and this is the illustration 50/50 white, and a little tiny bit of the illustration orange. I think 20 drops to 2. So 20 drops of illustration white with 2 drops of orange. And then the rest is 3 to 1 with 4011. So did you guys find that helpful of how I clean my airbrushes and keep them going? So let me know if it did. I'll try and put more stuff like that in there. Or you can just say, Tim, just paint, and that's cool too. It's the live streams are really about you guys and girls. So you let me know if that was good or if it wasn't good. I'll be happy to comply. So I have my paint strainer, right? So because this is white, and white always is gonna mess up. You know what I mean, guys? So, oh, thanks, JC. So JC likes just little things that I do that might help you guys out, that I do every day. Because us artists that work every day, we take for granted that everyone, we take for granted that, how to clean the airbrush or how to strain your paint and all that stuff. But in reality, those are important things. I'm going to put this here. Now what I'm going to do, this is nice and strained. I'm going to put this here. I'm just going to rinse this out in the sink. I'll be right back, my friend. I feel, guys, in my humble opinion, that, and that's a great thing about opinions, is they're free. But my opinion is to make sure that you clean your airbrush pretty close to when you're done. Oh my God, Mr. Gregory, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I really, really appreciate that. Appreciate your friendship and thank you so much for your support and your generosity. It means the world to me, my friend. And I'm looking forward. I really hope that your move goes really well. And I know you're working so hard, so I'm always so excited and appreciative when you take time out to hang out with us. Mr. Dwayne Marshall, how's it going? San Luis Obispo, how are you, sir? So glad you're here. Notice I'm waving my hand to make sure that I'm still alive. So thank you for that super chat, Mr. Gregory. Much, much appreciated. So let's see, put my money where my mouth is, and let's see if the airbrush is working correctly. So far, so good. And so glad you're here, Mr. Dwayne. So you see how, yes, I am a little bit on the extreme side when it comes to cleaning my airbrush. But I'm talking like 99%, 95% of the time, my airbrush is going to work like it's brand new. But that's in conjunction with clean your airbrush after you're done. Never go to bed. Never let the sun set on not cleaning your airbrush. That's just my own opinion. And like I said, opinions are free. So, Astral says he used worn out needle, which, yes, hone the sharpening stone on one side and use a Rima to clean the inside of the nozzle. Great technique. Mr. Todd, Air Todd, how are you from San Diego? How's everything, my friend? Okay, back to our young lady. So happy to paint her. So we're going to use this white mixture, this orange and white mixture, and we're going to kind of put some of this luminous lights on her mandible, and then on his zygomatic, and right here on the temporal area there. So we're going to take this back and put this on here. And so the whole thing is, the whole moral of this part of the live stream is basically you're going to have approach avoidance. You're going to say, oh man, that's going to be tough. I'm afraid of that. And that's okay, like anything else. You just kind of psych yourself into it. And then just know that the best way to attack it is head on. And that's what I do. So I hope that helps. A little bit of bravery really helps. So, but really think about it. Assess the situation. You see I used the Lifeline colors, the light olive. And that was a success. That was really good. So ease into it, guys and girls. Don't be afraid of it. You can always start over. But what you learn from something that doesn't quite work is a lot more than hitting home runs every day. Not only is it, not a learning experience, but if you hit home runs every day, I imagine it would get boring. I don't know. Never hit home runs every day. But I think that's the case. And let's see. So now, okay, we might have to raise the air pressure on the MAC valve. So, as of right now, I have one Extreme Patriot arrow to sell. Just one. And if anyone's interested, you let me know. JC, take care, my friend. Say hi to the kids for me and the missus, and don't work too hard. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of your new work. I love your art, sir, and as you know it. Okay, and so cool to see JC. Know him for quite a while now. Very good guy. Make sure we get good spray here. Good distance, that's important to get that good distance. Oh, welcome on El Chavo de Ocho. Will do. Oh, I can't wait to see that. Oh, that's going to be great. Let me know how that comes out, my friend. Working on our temple there, our temple area. We can always put color into this, so no worries. Always put color back in. Remember, you can't glaze on a darker area. Put this over here. Right underneath her nose there. It's a little bit lighter. And just, now we're going to look for working on her eyelid there. Just get the light of the eyelid. A little bit of a blowout there. Nothing can be fixed. There we go. Okay, so let's remove this here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come in some nice paintbrush techniques and kind of work that. Oh, I'm so glad Michael says that the paint gun, the Extreme Patriot Hour that Michael purchased, is really working well for him. Thank goodness. That is fantastic. I don't know how much longer I'll be selling them, guys. So that would be it. Once I'm done, I think. So now we see that she's looking pretty good. Now we're going to use our paintbrush over here as opposed to going crazy, you know, with erasing or anything. So you don't want to do that, right? Because if you erase, you kind of make things really bad. So you're going to take your time with that. So that's so important. And Michael says, I know I got to get the 105 before. Yes, definitely. The Extreme Patriot 105, I love that airbrush for backgrounds and stuff like that, which is really great. Okay, so a little bit right here on her nose area. Let me see. I may do it with the white or I may go in with this. I too like to live dangerously. There we go, just right there. Just be patient. And go over with the dark areas, it's okay. There we go. So you see, I'm going to be going back and forth, you know, going over it with color, going over it with white. Keep going over it until you get exactly what you're looking for. And let's see, Astral says Steve needs to do the last super, the last super on a razor blade. Wow, that's pretty cool. And just keep your 1 second rule going, right? And as you see, I can come back in with my light olive. especially right here by her hair. I'm just going to keep working back and forth. And then, you know, this rich kind of olive color in her face with the zygomatic bone coming over here. Just very lightly keep going. You can always darken it later. Going to work on the orbicularosaurus here. And don't worry about, you know, going ahead and going over the dark hair or anything like that. That's no worries. I'm going to do this part of her eye socket here. Working in a very small area like this in a portrait is not easy, but it's fun. And I can always come back in with white, which is great. Just come in, just keep pushing back and forth. Get that angle here of the depressa anguli oris as it comes down, very important. And put some of that orange color inside her ear. And come back to that at a later date. And then, you know, make sure you don't get, you know, trepidatious or, you know, worried about how it is. Now, there's a little speck of paint, and this is something that Mr. Jonathan Pantaleone talked to me about many years ago, back when I was a kid growing up in Dublin, Ireland. No, I can't back that up. I never grew up in Dublin, Ireland, but I was younger. I'm just going to try and... Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like right here, I don't think it is... Oh yeah, almost. Not really, but we'll work on that. So I'm going to get this... it worked when he showed me years ago. Jonathan Pantaleone, great artist. And I'm going to go ahead and fix that with a paintbrush technique. Just work this back and forth. Just like when you're painting in oils, it's all the same, right? And Mike McGlung says, you can see how good his paint gun is working by looking how small the face is. Yes, that's true. But it is not working 100%. So I haven't been able to get Badger parts. And so that has been an issue for Tim. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to not worry about that little spot. I know you guys can't see it, but I'm going to go ahead and address that a little bit later, because you don't want to go into it like, okay, and just make it worse. You think about it, you come back to it. So I'm going to take some illustration white, which is right here, 50/50 illustration white, and I am going to mix that, and let's see what color we have here for this golden color here. Wow, beautiful color. Let's see if we can mix that together. So Okay, right here, make sure I have the correct brush. Okay. Okay, so I have the paint that I want, the color. Now I'm going to look at how to mix it. This is my color theory, which is coming out pretty soon. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Okay. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and make this happen. Now I have to find that color, and I think the main color is right here. So this is my main color. And then I'm going to pick the other element here. Gotta get the other element. Let me see. Acrylic is always a little bit of a challenge. You know, coming from the world of oils, where oils pretty much is really the painter's paint, you know. So let's see. I'm going to see if I can get this color here. Little more, has a little bit of an orange to it, so let's bring some orange to the scene. Wicked orange, 3-to-1. Just a tad. You know, in the face, it might seem like it's a very yellow color, but there's a lot of flesh and stuff happening, so we have to make sure that we don't ignore that, even though our minds might say, yeah, that's the color, but we have to make sure that. So this could be the color. Let's see. So the color we were mixing. So here's our light color. Add some white there. It's pretty light here in the highlighted areas. So you see I got rid of that little line there, which is good. You know, it happens. I let it happen naturally, as opposed to, oh my God, I have to fix this ASAP. And just make sure that it doesn't get too wet, right guys? Tim, I did sign the back of the painting. I do like the signing the fronts of the paint. Oh, yes. I do that often too. I don't like signing the paintings. Thank you for that, sir. That is really great. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't sign the paintings. A lot of times I don't even sign the paintings, you know? We'll just bring this light down. It has some yellow in it. Especially right here on her nose. A little more of an orangey color here on her nose. So the something interesting's happening here with the surface. I'm not sure what it is. I'm just going to let it dry before I do anything, because it looks like it's not taking for whatever reason. So that's a little disheartening, but we're going to stick to it. Michael, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your friendship, and I really love the painting. Thank you so much for that, sir. And appreciate your comments, and you're such a great addition to our community. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, sir. Great people like yourself. I can't do this without yous. So thank you again. I'm going to go over this really slow, see if I can kind of clean up that irregularity that's right there. Very weird, you know, when you're painting, just weird things happen. And not sure what's occurring here, but that's okay. I'm going to come back in with the dark and kind of sculpt this out. And I'll show you up close. I mean, it'll probably scare anybody, but let me show you. And Mike, thank you so much for the super chat. Much appreciated, my friend. Thank you so much. So look at that. Look at what's going on. Wouldn't that frighten the heck out of you? But the thing is, we don't get scared. We just assess and we deal with it. So I'm going to come back in with this paintbrush. We're going to come with a different paintbrush. Where's the other one? I have a bunch of them. Let's see, where are they? Alright, I'll just clean it and use this one. Let's see, so we'll come here. Very weird. So something strange is occurring. Not sure. Maybe it's the surface? No, it ain't my surface, because my surfaces are tested over and over again. Let's see. There we go. So, okay, so you can see I am saving it, but I can't get too wet for whatever reason. So, like I said, I haven't seen this happen before, so I'm not sure exactly what's happening, but we'll get through it. Dwayne says his not signing probably is a holdover from the hooligan days. Very cool. A bit of grease on it. Yeah, that's weird. Maybe that could have happened, you know, something could have got on it or something. Yeah, but it is something like that, Astral, you know, something's happening here. What it is isn't exactly clear. I'm going to go back to the black. Worst comes to worst, I just come back to the stencil. Round this off. Okay. Okay, so I have the contour correct, which is good. And this is a little more concave here, so we may attack that. Okay. And then this, what I want to do is probably go into where the eye socket is and come in with a little more color. Kind of delineate that eye socket or establish that eye socket. Put a little bit of black in here. Michael says, if he wasn't for all you on YouTube, I wouldn't be painting. Oh, man, that's great. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. And Mike says, Mr. Bobby says, Mike, Steve, and Tim are huge aspirations. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Astral says we become armchair airbrush artists. That's funny. Watching is much easier. You guys are hilarious. So I can see something happening here. And we're going to come back to that. But now that I'm here and I have this kind of fleshy color, I'm just going to kind of darken it a little bit. Let's see if I can go ahead and kind of glaze this here. And I'm not worrying about any neatness or anything. I'm just going to establish some of the forms and come back to it. But just establish some of the forms and fix it up later. But that was pretty scary what was occurring and what just happened there. So you see it's, you know, rather interesting. And we'll just fix this. Bring this down. I learned so much from Steve Leahy's live streams, as everyone else will agree how great they are. And let's move this down just a bit. Okay, so you see, I just have to be a little lighter touch just to get rid of this, whatever this is happening here by her lips. And like I said, it's, you know, every painting is like a person, you know, you're going to deal with them differently. You know, someone you might meet at a convenience store might be the greatest person you met, easygoing, and then the next person you meet at a department store or what have you, all of a sudden, you know, is fighting you. And the same thing is with paintings, you know. Some paintings go super smooth and everything's just peaches and cream. And then some paintings are just like, nope, we're going to fight you every step of the way. And that happens, and that's okay too. Because you have to have the hard ones to experience the easy ones. I'm going to come back here with this. Again, I think we might be having adherence trouble with these paints that I kind of mixed way back in January. So I think that might be what's happening. Okay, so let's get her lips. And I do have the Colorline Natural Lip, the Lifeline. Let's see how that works. Hey Gary, all the way from Hershey. How are you, sir? Great to see you. So that is cool. And so who said they wish? Oh, Mr. Bobby says he wish he can paint as he watches. That's pretty cool. And Rick Lotta, all the way from Canada. Happy Wednesday, my friend. Good to see you, Gary. Good to see you, Rick. And so Michael is asked by Astral is his chair doesn't have any arms, and Mr. Mr. Astral says, is he in a hammock? Hammocks are good, but they're pretty scary. I'm going to work on these lips here. I think for some reason the surface is not playing nice, and that's not normal. So maybe something got on the surface, but it definitely is not playing nice. And that's when you just have to just step back and say, hey, what's happening here? Let me zoom out for us. We'll lighten her up a little bit. And let's see. Bobby says, I watch better than he paints. You're a very good artist there, Bobby. We just got to bring it out of you. Bring out the fact is that you are, I know you are, but you have to know you are. And that's important. Michael says he loves Wednesday. Some people call his name 3 times Mike, Mike, Mike. Guess what day it is? How cool. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I look forward to Wednesdays like my favorite day of the week. See, part of this is my fault, you know, and we're just going to keep going, and we're not going to, you got to work out some of your tough days, right? It's not all going to be, it's not all sunshines and rainbows, as Rocky said. So you're going to, it's not, whether you are going to have tough days painting is how you handle those tough days painting, right? Ryan says he must check out, but we'll check on the progress in the reruns. Thank you so much, Ryan. Have a great day. You're the best. So glad to see you, sir. So the lips, it sort of makes a wicked turn down here. So always look at the angles. That's always gonna, the angles will set you free, or something like that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt something. And any of my attempts today have been pretty bad, but we're going to keep going. And we're going to keep testing, because remember, we learn more from our tough days than we do from the easy days, where everything just goes well. Now, again, I could just say, wow, let me go ahead and do what I was doing, but I learned from my mistakes, and I'm not going to wipe with my hand. But I am going to smooth things out, so that's important. And I'm going to assess the situation, and I'm not going to get emotional. Like, Oh, I'm having a bad day. Everything sucks. Nope. You just gotta keep going. It's like we all have to paint. Like, you know, this is what we're supposed to do, right? And Astral says he used lighter fluid as a degreaser on his art sometimes. A trick from an art teacher. Wow, that does sound dangerous. Uh, Gary says, I say it done right or you're learning. Yes, definitely. So right, Gary. But you can see I'm getting a handle on the craziness all of a sudden. And that's what happens, you have to fight through it. It's not always going to be easy. And right now I can see that her eyelashes or the closing of her eyes, it actually is a little bit lower than what I have. So if everything was just working out perfectly, then maybe I would not have seen that issue. So there is a silver lining to everything. So I can hit that light below the lower lip, right? So right here, there seems to be, it looks like there's an extension of her nose, but that's really not occurring. So we're just going to work it out, and even though it looks like her nose is way out here, we're just going to make sure that we de-emphasize that. What's the worst thing that could happen? Start over, right? That's the worst thing. And what's wrong with starting over? Second time, And, how can I teach somebody, when they're having a bad day if I don't have bad days? But even with the bad day, I stick it out, hanging out with some really cool people. Works out. And we're getting her expression. Her nose is a little bit weird up here, but we're not going to make the change right away because once we come in here, then it's going. So we're not going to go ahead and keep adjusting here. I feel it's right. When the other elements come in, it's going to look right. So you got to wait till all the pieces of the puzzle is in correctly. And then you can then you can assess and go on. But when you are, it looks like we're having issues. So why is this a little bit more difficult? Because all the values in her face are very close together. When that happens, your margin of error is so small. So it's going to take a little bit more work, right? So that's something to really think about. Right here, we have this nice kind of orangey color here. But it's a little more of a muddy orange. And then I'm going to be going for the Orbicularis oris. Right here is the dark of the Orbicularis oris. And it seems like I'm just going to make sure I'm not being too fine and just kind of generally put different shapes in. And then we'll come in with the lighter colors right now. Yeah, this is super small. Definitely. Definitely, Brad. But we just stick with it, right, everybody? Just stick with it. Don't get emotional. Just let it happen. And we have the greatest tool in the world, the airbrush, to smooth things over. Oh, Gary says after 11 p.m. gotta run. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Gary. Always a pleasure. Thanks for hanging out. So glad to see you. And have a great weekend coming up. So I'm so glad you're here. And you have a good night, sir. And Michael says, I love how you blend it in like it's an oil paint. Yes, you know, I've been oil painting all week. So it's funny you say that. You know, it's sort of, you know, you kind of have that paradigm shift, right? And then when you come back to airbrush, you know, you kind of continue down that road. So very good catch. Shine, Travis, how's it going? All the way from the Minnesota area. Great to see you, Travis. Gary, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Thanks for your friendship, hanging out. And I really appreciate you. And it means a lot. The support you give is really, really appreciated. Thank you so much. And it really helps a lot. Keeps things going. And again, thank you so much, sir. It's an honor to have you on the live stream. I always love talking to you over at Steve Leahy's live stream, which is amazing. So I hope to see you over the weekend, maybe tomorrow on Steve's live stream. And have a great night, my friend. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out on a Wednesday. You know, I really appreciate you guys and girls so very much. Like, super amount, you know, appreciate yous. So, thank you so much. And I'm going to come back in here, you know, with the yellowish orange and everything like that. And keep working that. And there's this kind of orangey color right here in her ears. We'll kind of make that happen. And Michael says, Steve, did you see the airbrush holder his brother made for him? Wow, that's cool. I'd love to see it. Very cool. Okay, so I'll zoom out. And we're not going to get fixated, but you can see we made some nice saves there, right? Things look pretty hairy there for a moment. Speaking of hair, let's go work on our hair and do some airbrushing. So let's see. And we're just going to keep going, and we're not going to get nervous. We can get nervous, but we're going to keep going forward. That's the key. Assess and then decide what's the best plan of attack. Now I do have her hair here, I believe. Yes. Yes. And you know what's cool about the hair? It's going to help me. Let me blow some air on this for a little bit. But even with all the kind of craziness, there's a nice compressed value change in here. And I'm building up those very subtle structures. So even though we're like, Tim's having some issues, you know, things are moving along because I'm not getting emotional. I'm not getting scared. You're just going to keep fighting. You're going to work through it. It's like, have you ever taught your young ones chess? And whenever they lose their queen, they want to quit. And I'm like, no, you play it through. You know, if you play it through, when you lose your queen, you learn how to use your other pieces. And that's exactly the same thing. When things don't go well and your airbrush is not working one day, or like in here, my paintbrush techniques are going south because for some reason it's not adhering. I may be going too thin. Remember, guys, I put a new piece of paper on my wet palette, so it might be a little extra moist. There's a lot of different variables that could happen, you know? So that's very important to always worry about. Now, you see here, I'm going to spray this part, and a lot of times when, you have these hair stencils, you may lose part of your contours, right? So I'm going to check and see if it's me or is it the stencil. Okay, so I'm going to do it this way. And I'm going to use a freehand shield, I think. So the color we're looking for up here is like a gray. And then down here, it's going to turn into a brown. So I want to hit that gray first. And let's see if we can get that. It really isn't a gray. It's like a beige. It's like an orangey beige color. Okay, so I see the elements, which is good. And okay, let's see if we can mix this color together. I'll get a cup. Here we go. So first thing is I'm going to get the orange, and I'm going to do a little bit different. I'm going to use straight illustration here. We're going to start with illustration orange. Actually, let's see. You know what I like? I like the Wicked Golden Yellow. Let's try that. I think that's pretty close to the color I'm looking for. So Wicked Golden Yellow. And I'm going to mix that 3:1 with 4011. There you go. And I'm looking for my plastic palette knife, which is right here. And we're going to mix that really nicely. So that's my main color that I'm going to be using for that. I'm going to put that aside. Now, let's see. Michael says it'll hold 11 airbrushes and bottles of paint with 4011. Now that's cool. That is very, very cool. Now I need another cup. Here we go. And here I have to get this other element. Maybe let's go with this color. See if we can get the hair color. It's this kind of beige that appears to be gray. Okay. Close that up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to mix some of this into here. Let's see if I get the color. And what happens, a lot of times you'll see that it's the color, but it may need a shift a little bit to one direction, right? And so that's when we definitely assess and go forward. So we had the golden yellow, and I want to shift it towards orange, and I got to find my detail orange. So that's detail orange. Where is it? There we go. Got some detail orange here. I'm going to put just a little tad in there just to kind of give it that shift to the warm. Just move it to, with the color wheel, just move it towards the red just a little bit. Astral says that Michael McGlung, wow, that sounds like an incredible piece. That does. I have to go check it out. Let's say I put 2 drops in here. Let's see if it made that shift. It's starting to. Maybe 2 more drops. Ah. And it should make that shift again. Thank you everyone for hanging out so far. I really appreciate it. Thank God for giving me the resources to do this live stream, and the people to hang out with and to inspire me. And you know, like I said, without you all. Oh, look at that. See how it arrived? Sometimes you gotta nudge the color, right? You just have to nudge it. So what I'm going to do is, in here, I had that kind of beige color, and we're going to extract this color from this airbrush here. And clean out the cup, clean out the cap, and then we'll just run some water through this. Having respiratory issues with this lingering cold or whatever it was, I tend not to spray 4011 unless I really need to, or 4012. So I'd rather not spray that through the airbrush. I have a little cat, and I don't want her to get sick either. So I'll err on the side of caution. Okay, so now we have our airbrush, and we're going to see. I'm going to put this right next to her hair. And let's see. Make sure I don't spill my paint. If I go light, we should be fine. Let's see. So right now I'm just going to very lightly, I'll just put this here, keep this down. Super light. I'm just going to now, it doesn't look right, but it is right. So when you're painting, you know, color sometimes is not going to look right in the early stages. It's our job to hang in there. So when the other pieces come in, it just fits. Brad and I are working on a painting, and you know, the eyes, the white of the eyes just looked like it didn't work. And you know, there was like, no way is that going to work. But once we hit the dark of the eye sockets and the side plane of the nose, everything just sort of fit into place. So that's sort of a weird color, but take heart. Okay, so now we're going to lift this just a little bit. Oh, you take the fluorescent light reflecting off the hair. Definitely. Right, Astral. Very good point. Mike McGlung said, I did put pictures of it. Oh, okay. So I did read that. And you see how right now that's sort of color change, right? A very soft color change. We could do some freehand here. And then there's some of the hair kind of coming up here, like a little area of the hair here. Now what I can do is, let's see if we have this orange mixture, if it's working in the airbrush. Let's see if we can incorporate this. See how we can lighten up, like Mr. Astral said, we could work on the fluorescent. And we just got to take heart and know it's going to work out. So let's say your airbrush is not working 100%. As long as you're moving, you're going to be okay. You know, if you stick in one area, that's when you're really going to pay the price. But if you're moving and you're just rocking that trigger, the worst that's going to happen is that, you know, you're going to have some soft areas. But that's the worst that could happen if you're moving, and don't push back too far. So if you feel like, okay, it's not coming out, and you pull back, you're going to have quite a rude awakening when you pull back all the way and you have that blowout, right? You see I had a blowout earlier here, but I fixed it. You know, nothing that you can do, you can't fix. So I'm just thinning this out a little bit. Put some water in here. Just go back to the hair. And we're just establishing light areas. And we'll just come back. And then we have the light area here, which we'll establish. But we'll hit the light over here first. And then we'll come back here. A little bit more of a mass of the hair. We'll make sure that happens. And so we have this color and it matches here. So we can come back with this color here. See if we can smooth out some of the leather jacket here. And it works out because it's definitely the right color. Same fluorescent light, black leather jacket, black hair, makes sense. Same fluorescent light. See, we just stick with it, guys. And that's all we have to do. We just have to stick with it and don't get emotional and keep it going. Keep it going. Everything's going to work out. Brad says, I think the eyes are the most important part of a portrait. I mean, when they're open. So true. And Astral says, I sprayed my steel magnet board in matte black to take the shine off of the light. Very cool. And sprayed it in my kitchen and spent all day cleaning the black spray residue from the surfaces. Oh my goodness. You would be in big trouble. Gotta be careful, right? Just kind of doing some areas of the leather jacket, just like the painting, the Persephone, and she had the leather bomber jacket. The leather jacket didn't happen at once. It just happened slowly. So you keep your distance, you're going to be just fine. So remember, keep your distance, keep moving, and you're not going to have disasters. If whatever happens, let's say you're not getting anything out, please don't keep pushing back, on the trigger. That's disaster. So I'm just going to kind of incorporate this color. Do a light glaze of this color on her dress here. And if you put some of the color here and over there, and what happens is you start to get a more unified painting because there's mixture of everything within. Just make sure you match the hue, saturation, and value, but it's okay to have elements, different elements in your painting that kind of echo colors. That's so important. And let's see. And Michael says, I think it would be a lot easier when they're close. So all of his girls are going to be sleeping now. So let me see. I think it might be easier when they're closed. So all of my girls are going. Yes. So it is. It's a little easier having the eyes closed, but there's new problems, right? Because you don't have the full eyes. Now you have, the angle of the eyelashes and the upper lid as it's closed. So, like new problems, it's kind of, we think we're out of the woods until we're in it, and we're like, oh man, I didn't deal with this one before, and that's kind of, the worry of it all. Astral says he lives in an apartment, so he doesn't have the luxury of a garden to spray canned paint. Wow, so you were like the Toxic Avenger, huh? Oh my God. So me and a friend on Friday, we were varnishing paintings. He had a lot of oil paintings to varnish. And we were in his studio, and we didn't realize that, we were varnishing like 12 paintings, 12 oil paintings. And his wife came in. She was out, and his wife came in, and she's like, oh my God, I smelled it from the driveway. Here we are, Toxic Avengers. We didn't realize that, we were catching all these fumes from the, how do I say, all these fumes from the varnish. So it's funny, a lot of times, right, Astral, we don't realize what we're breathing in, like how bad things are. So always be careful, my friend. Me too. I'm going to be more careful. So there is some issues with her finger. Let me see if we can handle that together. I'm hooked on varnish. I'm all hopped up on Liquitex varnish. That's funny. So I'm going to actually mix this, and I'm going to mix that color, but I'm going to use the illustration colors, the opaques, and let's see if that would work for us. You know what? Let's use the Lifeline colors, right? Here we go. We have Light Natural. Let's use Light Natural, and we're going to work on her hand. Just, for the last couple of moments of the live stream. And thanks for following me. I appreciate that, after the first live stream went kaput. So these should be a little better. Okay, a little bit of white, just a tad, little dab. And so first one's free. That's what they say, right? Oh my God. So you see how, now I'm going to do the 1 second rule, meaning I'm going to look at her hand and then work on her hand, right? And it's okay to be lighter. We just want to cover up the mistake. You can always glaze over. But I don't think we need the white. We can just go with, so this is the Lifeline, and I believe it was the Light Natural. by Tim Gore's Lifeline Colors by Createx. Very cool, guys. So I think for the live streams, I'm going to continue just not doing my color theory and just, using the paint so I can share the colors that I'm using and do it that way. I think that's what I'm going to do from now on, because I want you all to see what I'm doing. And of course I can't show the color theory method because it's not out yet and all the bugs are not out of it. But what I'll do is just go back to, using the Lifeline colors and Wicked and going that way. I think that would be more inspiring for you all. So I'll go and do that until. Mr. Todd, have a great night. So as you can see, I worked on her hand, and so I do have this really cool color here. And you see how that cleaned things up nicely? And then right here, since I have this, we're going to go and see if we could just ever so lightly with the Lifeline colors, just clean things up. See, when we stick with it and we don't get emotional, we're going to be okay. So the same thing, you're going to have times where you're going to be working and nothing seems to be happening correctly, right? Technically. It's just one thing after another. And that's when you just have to say, you know what? I'm just going to quietly work it out. And that's what I'm doing. Just quietly working it out, guys. And let's see. Todd says good night. Take care, Todd. Astral says his son pops on chat on his breaks. He's at work now, and it's 12:30 in Japan, 4:30 here, and wow, times, and right now it's 11:30 p.m. here. And Michael says he thinks he's going to dump out some of his premixed paints. They've been around a good while. Yes, you're learning from my debacle, right, Mike? So that's good. And so you see how I was going to take my finger and put that there? So, those are two things I learned. Don't do that with my finger because there's oils in my finger and that could cause a problem. And you see how now I'm able to kind of clean things up, and that's great. And fresh paint, right, Mike? Fresh paint. That goes for oils and airbrush colors as well. So those old bottles that I was using, and I think that was the problem. The bottles I mixed, some of the bottles I mixed from January. It's May, for crying out loud. So maybe that's another lesson we can take away from tonight. But we just stick with it, right? We keep going. Have a great week. Thank you so much, Dwayne. I appreciate you. Thanks for the live, the super chat and the great comments. And thank you so much, Brad. Have a great night. And so that's cool. Yes, a lot of times there is weird, in acrylics, there is a weird smell, and that's when they got to go, right? So I'm pretty much going to leave it here. Maybe I'll just glaze this, just scumble this here, kind of get rid of that dark here. And so we're going to come back and keep working, but we did save her. We did bring her out of the brink, and that's good. And all right, guys, so we muddled through, and we're going to work on her and get her going. And everyone, thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you, Michael, for the amazing painting. I appreciate it. So for the super chats, I want to thank Gary for the super chat, and Michael McClung for the super chat. Dave Gregory, thank you so much for the super chat. Brad Mummery, I appreciate that so much. And also Michael Rushing for the super chat. If I forgot anyone in here, it's because I can't go back that far. But thank you guys for everything. Oh, from the last live stream. So continue with the other live stream. If I missed somebody who gave me a super chat, I apologize. You guys are all amazing, and I hope you have a great night. And thank you for sticking with me and going from one live stream to another. And tomorrow at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube, Steve Leahy, check out his live stream. It's amazing. You guys are going to love it. He always gives such great information. And take care. Thanks for a great Wednesday, guys. I love yous. You are all amazing. And I will talk to you soon.